What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I'm here today to do a new installment in my Celluloid Grave Robbery Blu-ray Cult Classics review series. And today we're going to be going to 1982 with this one. And this is probably one of the most well-known and most infamous movies to represent exploitation horror. And I, of course, am talking about Pieces. Yeah. It's exactly what you think it is. Yeah, this is originally released in 1982, and this is the 2016 two-disc Blu-ray edition put out through Grindhouse Releasing. Now, if you know Grindhouse Releasing, they are a very, very reliable and awesome studio that's responsible for remastering and restoring a lot of classic horror movies. You probably know them best for reissuing both very well-known and controversial cannibal movies like Cannibal Ferox, Make Them Die Slowly, and Cannibal Holocaust. They've also put out some really killer Lucio Fulci stuff like The Beyond and A Cat in the Brain. And this is a movie that I think is very much one of the best and not talked about enough. I really do love this movie. So let me read off the back of this box for you. Grindhouse Releasing is proud to present the sickest and most violent of all the early 80s slasher movies. A psychopathic killer stalks a Boston campus, brutally slaughtering nubile young college co-eds, collecting body parts from each victim to create the likeness of his mother, who he savagely murdered with an axe when he was 10 years old. Pieces is a wild, unrated gore fest with enough splatter and sleaze to shock the most jaded horror fan. Eli Roth, director of Hostel and The Green Inferno, says, "It has everything you could possibly want, by the bucketful. Full-on chainsaw violence, absurd amounts of nudity, and the greatest ending in horror history. A masterpiece of early 80s sleaze." Yeah. I remember watching the Good Bad Flicks channel on YouTube. That's probably one of my favorite channels on this YouTube site, and probably one catalyst in me help become more aware of really awesome, obscure movies from the 80s and 90s. And of course, I watched the video in which he talked about Pieces. And from the minute he talked about Pieces and what the whole story and crux of everything was about, I was mesmerized. And of course, seeing that short episode of Good Bad Flicks led me on to watching the movie itself. And it is an absolute trip. I mean, in many ways, a lot of people would consider this to be somewhat of an unofficial giallo film. I can see where they get the giallo influence from, but I've always read that the shadow was mainly behind the person who does all of the killings. And the killings are quite bountiful in this movie. Of course, you have the other tagline, "You don't have to go to Texas for a chainsaw massacre," and that's basically how the guy does all of these killings with a chainsaw in all these really crazy, gory, practical sorts of ways. Sometimes with a knife, sometimes with a chainsaw, it doesn't really matter. There's a lot of really crazy stuff going on here. Of course, the idea is getting a puzzle, putting it together, and then creating some sort of weird, freaky, almost Frankenstein's monster sort of creation with all of the body parts that he collects. It's really crazy. And not to mention so much wild random shit that comes across in this movie, like the whole scene with them playing tennis, and then the scene with the karate instructor that comes out of nowhere. A lot of crazy stories I've seen and heard about this whole movie experience. Even the scene in the swimming pool where it's super cold and the actresses that were participating in that scene almost died. Crazy, crazy stories. But this movie is just a crazy, flawed mess. But the more you watch it, the more you appreciate it. And it's interesting to note that this Blu-ray set has two different versions of the movie. You have the original unrated cut, which is my personal favorite, and the director's cut called Mil Gritos Tiene la Noche. I think that means 1,000 Cries has the night, if I'm not mistaken. It's about a couple of minutes longer, and it has a different sort of music score to give it more of a serious sort of tone. nothing really campy about it, but I don't know. I couldn't see this movie being so serious. I think it's better being silly and over the top and exploitative and all that other craziness. But yeah, if you've never seen Pieces, I would highly recommend that you give this movie a look. If anything, for the fact that it is what it says and sets out to be, horror exploitation, crazy kills, crazy stories, a lot of red herrings thrown at you. I mean, the ending is fucking crazy. If you haven't seen it already, I would highly recommend you wait until the end to see what the hell the big fuss is about. But yeah, I love this Blu-ray set. Beautiful artwork here, back with all the extras and stuff. I mean, as is the case with every Blu-ray stuff I talk about here, I've seen this movie a lot, but I've never seen this movie look this good with the 4K restoration. It is absolutely beautiful. There you have the Blu-ray case itself with the Pieces artwork, very famous poster art, more of the extras and features. 2-disc set, you have the movie on one disc, the extras on the other. You have a cool little booklet with liner notes, credits, and information. There you see this guy right here. He's a really fun character. He's like the gardener, but I don't know. You probably know him from the Popeye movie where he played Bluto. It's really crazy. And it comes with a bonus CD of the soundtrack and all the cues for said soundtrack. Really, really cool. And I love when studios put out Blu-rays that have music CDs with them. So that way you have the full listening experience. But yeah, if you haven't seen Pieces, definitely check it out. You know what you're going to be getting yourself into when you watch it. If I'm not mistaken, it is available to stream on Shudder if you're a Shudder user. I think it's on Tubi as well. And I'm pretty sure this movie is free to watch on YouTube if you look deep and hard enough. I would highly recommend this crazy, crazy horror movie. So yeah, Pieces from 1982. Worth looking into. If you haven't seen this, if you've seen this movie, let me know what you think about it and how you feel about it, and we can go from there. Have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel. Until the next time, Army out.